So did you hear about the Simone Biles' husband? What he said in a podcast that he was recently on? Did you hear about that?
No. Who is Simone Biles' husband?
So I think they just got married, maybe like last year, and he went on a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Basically,
Okay.
they asked him about his relationship, and he goes and he says, honestly, when we started dating, I didn't even know her. I didn't know who she was. And then it was a whole controversy because he started saying, like,
What?
I'm the prize. She wanted to get with me. She wanted to land me. So it was just, it's crazy. And people are
Wait,
all,
I'm sorry. Wait. I just have to make sure that I understood you, right? Okay, so I can understand going on a podcast and being like, when we first started dating, I didn't know how big she was or like all these things. I can even understand someone being like, I am a prize. Cool. Totally get that. Love your vibes. You are and she is, and you guys are prize vibes together. But to be like, I didn't know who she was and she was trying to land me, like that's your wife. Like in any I don't care what conversation we're having, like, but that's your wife. You don't ever go publicly and say anything that's not completely uplifting and praiseworthy of your spouse.
mm,
Right? So like I don't care anything else. And like aside from the bullshit that is you didn't know who she was, who is arguably the greatest, not even arguably, who is actually the greatest gymnast in the world, right?
mm,
And one of the best athletes in the world.
correct.
Athletes across the board, the industry that you're in as an athlete, Mr. I don't even know what your name is, one of the greatest athletes
Hmm.
in the world. And you're going to sit here and be like, I didn't know who she was. That's a lie.
I wonder
And I
what
don't know
kind of
why your male
conversation
ego
that
needs
was.
that. I mean,
Like,
I just want to know what she said when he got
that's
home.
what
And
I was
she was
thinking.
like,
Like,
oh, baby, really?
what do you say to that? Like, oh, you didn't know me. They also met. I'm pretty sure they met on
Oh, no.
that dating website or app called Raya, where it's all
Oh,
celebrities, and it's like,
yeah.
homie,
So it's like you knew something. You know I was someone out here in
who
these
knew
streets. I
she
wasn't just
was?
I wasn't just the average Joe.
Yeah.
Okay? And let's be real clear, gymnasts, and this is no shade, but gymnasts have gymnast bodies, right? They
Mhm.
have bodies where their muscles have developed in such a way that allows them to do these incredible things that they do. But like gymnasts tend to look a particular way. They have very strong legs, they have very strong arms, they have very strong like they are strong women. I wish I was that strong. Do you know what I mean? But like she looks like a gymnast.
I.
She doesn't look like a swimmer, right? She doesn't look like a track runner.
Mm,
She looks like a gymnast. And her name is Simone.
yep.
And she's been on the headlines of everything. So there's literally no way, unless you lived under a rock in a cave with no media, but obviously you have media because you're on Raya trying to date people. Like, there's no way you don't know who Simone
It's
Biles
such a
is.
lie. Like, even us who are not celebrities, we do the Facebook stalking, the creeping, the background checks.
Mm.
Like, you mean to tell me he did not plug in her name and saw who she, like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm like, by my
You mean to
first
tell me
date.
that not only did you not know, but nobody on your team, in your squad, in your
Yeah,
circle knew who she was? Your mom didn't know who she was?
that's a
Your
lie.
your sister, your cousin, your friend, nobody? And, like, let's just be really clear, though, because this is the thing that always gets me, is, like, why did you feel the need to go on to a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see it, so I am literally talking from what your description was because I haven't seen it. But, like, what would make a man feel like he needs to go in public and try to cut down his wife to make himself look better?
I
Like,
think,
because what is
in
it saying
my
about
Yeah, in my honest opinion, I think he might be getting tired of being referred to as Simone Biles' husband. Like, in some sort of way, maybe it's his way of asserting his dominance. Who knows? Who knows? But that's the
you
only.
know what would have asserted his dominance? You know what would have asserted his dominance when he went out there and he was like, "My wife is the greatest gymnast of all time, and I couldn't be prouder. And I love the way that she shows up and supports me in my endeavors as well." And boom, hey boy, you are now the golden husband who's not only supportive
Mhm.
but engaging, all these things. But instead, you want to be like, "I didn't know who she was. She wasn't that famous." Like but she is, and
Yep.
everybody knows that. So now you just look stupid. You look stupid, you look like a bad husband, and it's like and you look like a bad husband in public, and not because she said anything about you, but because you went in public and demeaned your wife.
Mm,
And
mm.
it's not a problem to say that you're a prize. You are. We're all prizes, right? We are all living,
Yes,
breathing
Lori
human
Harvey,
beings,
answer
emotions. Like, we
for
are all prizes in our own right. Right. So, like, yes, you are a prize, 100%. She is lucky to have you. If you treat her well, she is lucky to have you.
yeah.
100%. Right. Vice versa. But let's be real clear. You could have said that without being like, I didn't know who she was. Because
Mm.
that's not true. Like, everybody knows that's not true. So I don't know. I think that that's just trash. And I hate these celebrity relationships where the men feel like it's important to bring down the women in some way,
Mm.
right? It's like, I have to cut you down when you're the bigger star. I can't just be the person who stands there and supports you. Like, why not?
I don't
Like,
know. I have no idea. It's 2023. Like, it's
2024.
oh
It's
whoa, wait, oh,
2024.
scratch that. It is
Scratch that,
2024.
right? You got to get the pencil out and mark it off. It is 2024.
Yeah. Like, women are boss. We are breaking records. We are breaking the bank. Like, give us the respect. And like our
Put
partners
some
need
respect on my name. Put some respect on my name. But you know what? I think that there is this whole issue, and I feel like it was like the Kevin Samuels era.
mm,
You know,
I don't even
may
care
God forgive his soul.
about that.
But like, you aren't familiar
I
with
don't
Kevin
know
Samuels?
Kevin Samuels.
Okay. So, see, this is that generational thing again. Kevin Samuels was out here, like, he hated women. Like, it was very clear that he hated women. Like, you listen to his podcast for 5 minutes, he'd be like, "Oh, he hates women."
Right.
Like,
Okay.
it's clear, it's evident. But he put out this whole notion of, like, high valued men,
Mm.
and that women who wanna be with high value men need to do a certain thing and act a certain way and look a certain way and, like, shouldn't speak, all this stuff about how they shouldn't speak, and it was the craziest, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, "But are you a married man?" "No, you're not a married man." "Didn't you get found dead in a bed under a prostitute?" I'm pretty sure I read that in a in
The
a headline. Now I have to check myself because 'cause I'm not entirely
tea.
sure, but I'm pretty sure that was the word on the street, was that,
Yep.
and so I'm like, "Please tell me why you have become the poster child for, like, relationships when you're literally all you do is you got famous about denigrating women and trying to uplift men."
Isn't that the
Oh,
same
here we
as
go.
isn't that the same
56-year-old man was reportedly married twice, both of the times ending in divorce. And then when he died, he actually was rushed to the hospital. So I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. But he died of hypertension. And the word on the street, or at least the allegation is that he was perhaps with a woman of the night, or
woman of the night? Not the woman of
there's another article here that's alleging a trans woman of the night. So who knows?
goodbye.
Who knows?
Isn't that the same as the Andrew Tate? Did you hear about him? And
No, tell me about Andrew Tate.
he's another podcaster, businessman, American British, and he has the very same exactly what you were talking about. This Kevin, what's his name, Kevin Samuels, but now
Mhm.
he's trying to insert, men are the alpha, women should respect that, saying all these masculine things. And guess what? He was just arrested in I think Romania or another country for being a part of a sex trafficking ring. It's like, what?
Mhm.
Like but it's crazy how many men reposted his things that were like, yep, we need to get back to this type of society, this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, how hypocritical. And then being found, I think him and his brother are now in another country under arrest for being part of this. And like the Epstein list we were just talking about that's released. I'm like,
Mm.
oh my goodness.
I don't even know. Now I think we're just gonna get the list of suspects, right? Who killed Epstein or who freed him from the jail, um, depending on how conspiracy theory you want to go. Um, I mean, honestly, let me just back up for a second, and I'm just gonna like break down the third wall for those of you who are listening. How many of you actually believe that Epstein is dead? Like,
mm.
really? Like, I really want to know. Because, Shar, do you honestly believe that he's dead?
That's such a good question. I don't know if he killed himself. I
Oh, we know he didn't kill himself. How are you in a maximum security prison? There's no all of the cameras go down at the same time, and all of the security guards were asleep at the time of his death.
yeah.
Really?
Mm.
I mean, we've all seen enough movies to know that that's not it, right? But, like and we've also just read declassified FBI documents to know enough about what our government does and, like,
Mhm.
CIA documents. So, like, to know, right, even with the redactions, to know that somebody either killed that man or freed that man, and he is somewhere living on an island, Epstein Island,
He's back.
with his buddy
He's
Prince Andrew,
oh,
chilling,
geez.
okay? Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton have put him up, and he is chilling.
Oh my
Or
god.
maybe he's in one of Trump's properties. He's in Mar-a-Lago. I don't know.
I don't even know where to begin on that. Like it's insane, and it's insane all of the things that are being released, all the people that connected to it, government, businessmen, politician, all of the above. And then sometimes we forget about the victims. I watched the documentary and it's like all the people coming forward are so glorified, but where are the victims and their story? And they did a little bit in the documentary, but what's the aftermath? How are they, all of these people are coming forward and being released? Like, how does that affect the victim? What do they think? Where are they at today? Right? So we can do an entire deep dive into that. But
I think it varies. I think it varies. I've seen some things come out about victims. There's this whole movement on TikTok, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there's like a whole movement on TikTok to end child brides,
mm,
right, in the world. But what most people don't realize is that it's still legal to marry children in the United States in almost every state in our country.
like if you have adult consent, right?
Not you don't even necessarily need adult consent in every
Oh,
state.
jeez.
And some of the states don't even have limits, like age limits. So there are places, in fact, there was one what is it, congressperson, or maybe it was yeah, I think it was Utah, voted against ending child marriage.
Oh.
And I was and like one of the arguments that he made, and I'm trying to remember exactly what his name was. But one of the arguments that he made was like, "Do you know anybody who's been in an arranged marriage like that?" He's like, "'Cause
Mm,
I have and I do, and they're very happy and all this stuff." And it's like, we're not arguing about arranged marriages.
right.
Um, we're talking about children being pledged into marriages
Mhm.
with grown-ups, with full-blown adults without consent. And then the effed up part about it is that they can legally be sexually assaulted, right? Because it was, as I mentioned in one of our previous episodes, it was only recently where spousal rape became rape,
Mhm.
right? Um, because it wasn't before that women didn't have a claim. And it's not statutory rape if they're underage because they're married.
Wow.
So that's the only caveat is where you can have sexual relations with children is if they're your spouse,
Mm,
right? And in many states you have to get spousal consent, but you can have children as young as 9 who are being married off to grown-ups. And and then you end up with this situation where they're not actually legally allowed to get divorced because they don't have any legal rights until they turn 18.
oh
So
my
essentially what happens is
goodness.
that their legal rights get assigned to their spouse now. So their parent basically grants the spouse the legal rights, but the individual child doesn't have those legal rights back,
Mm,
right? Until they turn 18. So they can't even sue for divorce. So there's this whole movement on TikTok of these child brides who have gotten out of these marriages, and they tell their stories. They
mm.
tell sort of this journey, and they're from all different parts of the country,
Oh,
right?
wow.
New York City, Florida, places you wouldn't expect, California.
Mm.
A lot of people think about Utah and all the stuff that people talk about with Utah and like polygamy and all this stuff, but, I mean, it's happening right under our
In
noses,
our
and that is the
backyard,
oh,
in our backyard. Sure.
That's the silent sex trafficking that's happening. So, like, Epstein is one thing, and that is a huge ring. It's a huge network. It goes so much deeper than we even know.
Right.
But I mean, it comes all the way down to our children
Mm.
and the people we don't see because once they get married into these unions, you don't really see them anymore.
Nope.
Right? They've kind of disappeared. They're stuck in the home as basically child prisoners.
Mhm.
And when we think about child brides, people always think about India, they think about Africa, they think about these quote unquote third world nations engaging in these barbaric practices, and we've got to save our girls. And
It's happening in the
literally
background. Yeah.
your neighbor,
Yep.
right? Your next door neighbor may be engaged in a child marriage. And people don't say anything because they don't know. Most people in this country, if you ask them on the street, they would not know that that was still happening.
Well, I didn't. I didn't. I know, especially like in Hollywood, like and
Mhm.
this is to kind of revert back to what we were talking about Epstein's list is even some of the stars in Hollywood that, Mila Kunis, when she started in that 70s show, she was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
Who else? If you've seen Pretty Little Liars, that was one of my shows growing up. But the girl on there everyone else was 20, 30 years old, and she was 12. And they're having, her kiss 18-year-old, 19-year-old men that you don't even realize that later. She was only 12 years old. So
Yeah.
this might be, a catalyst to opening the doors to more, impactful discoveries about these things. Um, you're
The
like,
thing that's
no.
so
You're like,
crazy to me,
no.
I mean, but it's like it's been happening forever,
Yeah.
right? Like we know that Mila Kunis is my generation, right? She
Mhm.
and I are about the same age, if you
Yeah.
will. And so when I think about that, it's like that's my lifetime lived experience. And just to bring the stats, right? Because there's Mila Kunis, but there's also, we think about Aaliyah and R. Kelly. We think
Mm,
about all of these different people, right? That was a marriage. But that was essentially child marriage, right?
yeah.
And people didn't talk about it that way. They glorified
Priscilla
it.
and
She's this
Elvis. And
beautiful woman, and exactly.
yeah.
But so here's this article that came out from The Hill, and the title is Child Marriage is Still Legal in Most of the United States. And here's why. And just at a glance, because I'm not going to read the article, right? But about 300,000 children and teens were legally married in the United States between 2000 and 2018. In an 18-year span, more than 300,000 children and teens were legally married in this country, right? And laws prohibiting minors to get married have struggled to pass. Only 10 states have laws prohibiting people from under the age of 18 from marrying. Only 10 states, which means in 42 states in the United States, children under the age of 18 can be married. And it's not the states that you would think, right? There's pushback that comes from conservative and progressive groups.
Mm.
And there's this story, and the article goes on to talk about the story about this 14-year-old girl, Genevieve, who began spending time with her neighbor to get away from her parents, right? And her relationship with her neighbor, who was a 42-year-old divorcee of two, eventually turned sexual. The mom called the police, and the mom agreed for her to essentially like marry this guy,
Oh my goodness.
right? And it's like all of these things. Many of the minors were 16 or 17 at the time that they were wed, but children as young as 10 years old have been forced into marriage in this country.
Oh my God.
Out of all the minors that were married between 2000 and 2018, so when both of us were alive,
Mm.
86% of them were girls.
Mm.
14% of them were boys.
How,
And the girls were mostly married to very adult men.
how crazy. It's just,
And
it's,
I just want to
oh.
point this out really quickly though, Shar, just for the audience, just to make sure it's really clear. Marrying before the age of 18 was legal in all 50 states
Mm.
until 2017.
Ah, jeez.
We are in
Ah.
2024. That is 7 years ago. 7 years ago, all 50 states
Mm.
would allow children to be married.
Mm.
And in those 7 years, only 10 states have passed legislation that banned it. 2018 being the first year where Delaware passed legislation banning child marriage, essentially raising the minimum age to marry to 18. But that was in 2018. That was 6 years ago,
How
which means this is happening right here, right now. Epstein is just the beginning, and when we think
mm,
about how, uh, prevalent, right, that list is, that everyone keeps talking about, that they've been fighting about, all these things, the names that are gonna come off of that list on Epstein's island, right? We already know Bill Clinton's gonna be on that list. We already know that Donald Trump's gonna be on that list. We've seen the photos of them together, like, we know that they're gonna be on there, right? How many other politicians that are voting against this legislation to protect our children,
mm,
right, are on that
on
list?
that list, or their relatives, their family members,
Or their relatives,
the next
right?
person in line to take. It's like the Kennedys, not saying that they were on the list, but that
Who knows?
continuously, that dynasty, that
Yeah.
it's crazy because the culture that it even goes back to within ethnic communities, right? Because I know some, Catholic, or not even Catholic, but some Latinos sometimes, you get, let's say you get pregnant before the age of 18. The family's like, well, you have to get married, and we
Yep.
don't, and I'm assuming that's probably a large portion of that underage marriage,
Mhm.
is a lot of those type of beliefs. Well, you're pregnant, you can't have this child on your own, like, you need to get married. And maybe they
Right.
were they were raped, they were coerced, they were groomed, how unfortunate. Truly, I didn't even know that it wasn't until 2018 that this was outlawed. You learn new things every day. I'm like, I'm just gonna shelter myself in the house, in the house, not to like derive from what we were talking about, but I'm literally turning 27 this weekend. And I was like, oh, if I had a child tomorrow, I'd feel like I was still a baby. And you see those TikToks where it's like, I'm a teen, this is a teen pregnancy. Like, if I have, I'm like, I am almost 30 years old. Like, come on now. But all in all seriousness, like, we need to have these conversations. But it's such a difficult thing to talk about. Like, who wants to think that my neighbor could be married to a 14, 16-year old, in this day and age.
You know what's crazy? So, in the high school that I went to, so in Baltimore City, I went to an all-girls high school, and one of my friends in high school, had a child, and, like, had a 3-year-old when we were juniors in high school, and in our senior year had her second child, and was engaged and subsequently married, and it was not even as if it were a question,
Mhm.
right? Like, I mean, it was like, okay, it's a little weird, but we just went along with it. And now as an adult, I think back and I'm just like, holy moly, you had your first kid in 8th grade.
I
Right? Like, the magnitude of, like, the gravity as a child hadn't really hit me. It was just kinda like, "Oh, you're a mom. Okay, cool. Like, you seem chill with it. Like, we're just chill with it." But thinking
Right.
back on it, it's
There's no
like,
way. That's crazy.
where were the adults? Where were the adults in the room? And, like,
Oh my.
what was happening? I do wanna point out something else because you said dynasties, you said family members, you said families. Um, I always say this woman's name wrong, but what is her name? Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's
Grizzly,
homie.
grizzly,
That the
yeah.
chick that what was her name? Ghislaine,
Grizzly.
whatever the hell her name is. That chick who did some ratchet stuff who's now in jail.
Yep.
That one. So, did you know that her sister owns the company that issues Amber Alerts?
No way.
Allegedly.
No way.
Allegedly, there is a claim on social media that she is the one who, I guess her name is Isabelle, French-born entrepreneur and co-founder of Magellan, which was an early search engine that was acquired.
Mhm.
She's listed as a technology pioneer, served as the president of ComTouch and some other things, but allegedly is, one of the people who helped to create the Amber Alerts, or at least that's the claim. So, when I when you said, um, when you said the family members and all these things, it's like, how far does this go?
Oh, it's deep. It's deep. And why am I
Yeah,
not getting Amber Alerts every 2 minutes? Like, with all of the people
girl, I
doing
don't know.
and all that. That's correct. we need a whole deep dive into this
I know, now I'm like, I have to look into it.
and
I'm
how
like,
it's
because
all
I saw it,
connected.
I was like, "Who is it?
No, no
Who is
way.
it?"
I'm just gonna
I don't think it
say
can't be real. It
I'm
can't be
gonna
real, right?
I'm gonna buy a farm somewhere on a remote island and stay far, far, far away from all of this. Well, even okay, have you heard about the yachting stuff in Hollywood?
Oh, yeah, the yacht girls. I just learned about this. I didn't
Oh,
know that was a thing. When we went to Puerto Rico, that's like I saw some video on I was up late at night and I saw some video on like TikTok and I was like, it's clearly I get all of my news from TikTok nowadays. Um, but oh my God.
yeah.
Can you tell the people for those of you who don't know what yachting is,
What you for
okay.
yachting.
It's not just apparently taking out your fabulously big boat and going out
No,
around the south of
no.
France. You know,
So
no,
I guess
Cannes is not just for movies.
it's just different levels to it, is my understanding. Like, obviously, you'll have the hey, we'll pay you to come on and be and show off your body, and then you get into the ugly side of yachting, where it's
Mhm.
you're having these people of power paying these women to have relations with them. There was a case that it was called like the Dubai incident, where oil money wanted these girls to come on the boat and like defecate on them, and these girls, yeah, and you go on, you obviously get paid to go on the boat, they ask you to do all these crazy things, and a lot of these girls will do it, and when they get off, they're promised, oh, we're going to give you a car, a house, we'll put you in this movie, this, that, and the other. What's crazy, and this is, I don't even know if I want to say this because we'll see if this makes the podcast or not. But Meghan Markle, she obviously she grew up in Hollywood, this, that, and the other. But they said that because she was a yacht girl, that's how she got to meet Prince Harry. Was because she started running around in these circles that they were interconnected, and then that's how they got to meet. And so a lot of these women that want to become rich, famous, they'll start off by becoming yacht girls. And you'll even see some of like the supermodels like Kendall Jenner, Bella Hadid, like they'll go on, and that's how their career might have been boosted. Although they come from, allegedly, yes, allegedly, this is all alleged. But I see this, and it's feeding into going back to the Epstein list, and how many of these women chose this, and how many of them were, blackmailed into this. Who knows? But that's where the lines start to cross, right? And it's interesting. It's interesting, but you have
I
to
don't even
look
know what to
up.
say.
You have to look up
I don't even know what to
the
say. I'm
divide.
afraid to look it up. Look, as a woman who like managed to make it out for the most part unscathed from
Yeah.
because I was in college in Hollywood. I used to, help promote clubs in Hollywood and I was a sub promoter and did all that kind of stuff and it was a good time. It was fun. And I used to always be like, "Dang, people are going out and doing these stuff." I didn't get it. I didn't get what was happening, and I'm glad I didn't go.
Sheltered. I'm glad I went to
They were like,
school
"You
in
wanna go to this
Ireland.
party in the hills?" I'm like, "Nah, I got class tomorrow." Like,
It's it's
I'm
it's
good.
wild. And social
Yeah.
media, you'll have, NFL stars or whoever fly these girls out, like the whole Drake situation that happened with the hot sauce. Like, it's wild.
Okay, clearly I live under a rock. What?
Okay, this is the
What?
last one, then we need to change the subject. But Drake, obviously, he'll have girls come over, and this one girl, she wanted to get impregnated by him. And I'm going to put this as an allegedly, that every time he has relations, he'll put hot sauce in the condom, so then like they can't get pregnant. And apparently the girl like had put the hot sauce and it like burned her, so there was like a whole lawsuit in regards to that.
Or just, like, maybe we
Yeah,
don't need to have sex?
we
Like, maybe if these are the kinds of precautions we need to be taking, we
yeah,
probably shouldn't be doing this.
allegedly. Okay, there's no like on the record, like this did not come. But also TikTok. Okay, you guys, we're getting a lot of information from TikTok, a lot of conspiracy theorists. We all have to take it with a grain of salt
With a grain of salt.
because
Everything can't be true you see on the
we can't, we
interwebs.
can't. But then
Okay? Some of
because
it,
it's
especially with AI, some of this is made up. I have to put that out there.
yeah, it's so
Can't be real.
obscene sometimes that you're like, there's no way someone can make this up. There's no way someone can make this up. But then it's like,
I mean,
man,
life imitates art,
mm.
or art imitates life, one of the other, both. It's the chicken and the egg.
So
The chicken and the egg.
Portia, how?
But wait, in that vein though, have you seen the Obamas leave the world behind movie?
Did you? Did you? I thought you didn't
I
see
had
it
to
yet.
stop. I had to stop. I couldn't
No,
watch it anymore. I had to stop watching it.
no.
I was like, with everything that the Obamas know, like, is this a warning?
Oh,
Like, this
100%.
feels like a warning.
A
I was like,
hundred,
I'm unprepared.
a thousand, a
I
thousand,
like immediately went on my Amazon and was like, okay, I need a I need a
everything.
solar generator that's gonna power my house, that I can at least get a refrigerator. I need to like go
All
get
of
some
it.
guns. Like I need some like we got like long range walkie talkies so that we can talk amongst our houses.
I'm
Like I
dead,
literally
Portia.
put together. Well, so I had already had like a survival list that I sent out to my entire family, and I'm like, here are the links, here's the things, here's like, the water purification tablets, like all the stuff. Like I have a whole natural disaster emergency thing. Because when Katrina hit and my cousins, and I heard about my cousins being stuck in their house, and like the Red Cross had them to paddle in to get them because it was all flooded and they were doctors and they needed their help. So they like paddled in to get them on boats. I was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Like, no, I am not being trapped
Yeah.
anywhere ever. No, we're not going to struggle like
I'm
this.
coming to
So
your
I have
house.
always had an emergency kit. You
I'm
say?
coming over there. Um,
That's what everyone says. Everyone's like, I'm coming to your house. You are the most prepared person I know for like the apocalypse. And I'm like, girl, I'm not letting
you
you
know
in.
what? I couldn't even like at that point if it started happening, I'd just walk into it. I'd be like, I don't have the energy to be Katniss Everdeen out in the wilderness. Like I can't. I wasn't built for that. But
I was just like, I'm not built for that
it's
life.
crazy. And so when the Obamas came out with this stuff, I go on Reddit. I do like reading what people think, but they are saying like working in government. And one of the people said, what is something you learned from government is how prone we are to cyber attacks, to
Hmm.
exactly what they were talking about and leave the world behind. And
Yeah.
Obama, he was the executive producer, right? Like he
Yeah. The Obamas.
made
Yeah.
sure. I 100% think that they're sending a message. And the fact that it was like black families, he's like, let me make this, connected to the people I want to target. Like, it's huge.
Right. The people who are not getting this information, let me connect you directly.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the way I felt about it when I was watching it. And I was like, this is terrifying. Because the other thing is like, even if all of the ships lost their navigational capacity, right? And guys, these are not spoilers. This is a very beginning of the movie. So
We're
like
gonna
the
be
first 5
time.
minutes, like so much more happens after that, right? But in the first 5 minutes, it's like this boat runs aground, and it's like even if they lost all their navigational tools like electronically, like captains still know how to navigate. Like not all of them know how to navigate by the stars,
Right.
but a basic ass compass, you can use a basic compass.
But I mean, don't you? But the so dependent. We've become so dependent on electronics that even
Yeah.
like even with our phones, like if your phone's dead and you're trying to get from A to B in town, people can't do that. So if I know for I try to pride myself, and my family always said like always pretend like you're gonna be kidnapped 2 blocks away from your home, like know how to get around the area.
That's what they would say. That's terrifying.
That's what they said. They
I mean,
found that
that's fair. I tell Emerson that all the time, actually. I feel like
Can you imagine?
I've
And I
freaked
have
him
some
out.
friends that if they were kidnapped a block away from their house, they wouldn't even know that they're only a block away. Like I'm like, come on, we gotta know this stuff.
That's
But
fair. You gotta
we're
know this stuff.
so dependent on electronics. We're dependent on, oh my gosh, Amazon, I need this tomorrow. That there has to be something that's about to happen. Something's about whether that's
So this is what happened during the Rose Bowl game, right? So we live right here by the Rose Bowl, and the big Rose Bowl game happened, on New Year's Day, and it was University of Michigan versus Alabama, right? Roll
Mhm.
Tide, roll. And all of a sudden, we couldn't make any phone calls.
Oh,
Everybody in my house.
oh,
We couldn't
jeez.
send any text messages. We couldn't make any phone calls. None of the electronics were working. The entire internet went down. The TV, like everything went down in our house. And it was like, okay, well, is the network just overrun because there's so many people? Like, what's happening? But for probably a good 20 minutes, we couldn't do anything with our
What did what
technology.
did you do? Did you lose it?
Well, we just, like, started freaking out, like, we just kept asking each other, like, "Oh, well, like, let me try and, like, reset the modem," and I was like, "Well, let me take my phone off the Wi-Fi," and I was like, "Nope, the cell tower's down, like, I can't send any messages." Then I was like, "Okay, well, this is weird." And then finally it came back on, but it was, like, starting to get to that moment of panic of, like,
Yeah.
"What?" This is a big moment, right? This is the Rose Bowl, this is the
Mhm.
Rose Parade, millions of people, billions of people around the world are watching
Mhm.
this here. We just had the stealth bomber go by. We had all these things. Like, is this the statement? Like, is this where people make a statement? And it got really scary, and it brought me back to the Obamas, to their movie where it was like, what the hell do you do?
What do you do? Get satellite
Once it goes
phones.
down, what do you do? Yeah, but I mean, once it goes down, what do you do? Because you can sit there and you can wonder about when it's gonna come back up and who knows,
Yep.
right? But, like, how quickly would you take action if that was you? Right? We were there 20 minutes, like, looking at each other like, "I don't know." Nothing triggered in us that was like, "Grab the emergency bag, like, let's go." It was
No,
like,
just
"Oh, this is
confusion.
weird."
Mhm.
Yeah, and then, like, at, like, the 18-minute mark, we're like, "Okay, I wonder if there's, like, any news anywhere. Like, what like, what
You
are people
can't
saying about
yeah,
this?" "Oh, can't find out because you
you
don't have any way to
can't.
listen."
You're just
That's when I ordered my
stuck.
solar radio. Yeah, I went right on Amazon. I'm gonna share my emergency link with
Hey
you, and
guys,
you can
check
grab
the
all the
link.
things. I was like, "I need all the things," because I sat there and I was like, "What good are these walkie-talkies?" I'm with all the people who have all the other walkie-talkies. They don't have any information either. Where the heck are
Where's
the people
Dave?
with the information? Yeah, no, it was it
Like,
was it was a weird moment.
what would
It
you
was a
do?
weird
Like, could
moment.
you like you remember the old radios with the antenna? Like, am I gonna have to buy one of those again? Like, we're just reverting
It's on the
to
list, girl. Listen,
that.
it's on the list. I got a whole list for you of emergency supplies. It's on the list. Um, it is a solar powered radio with a hand crank. It's got long range.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
be
exactly
good.
it's what it is, and sometimes, like well, I used to do hurricane preparedness, right? So I used to be in the insurance for hurricane homeowners, and it's when you go to these places that have been devastated by hurricanes,
Mhm.
tornadoes, it is ground zero. Like, there's no
Yep.
cell phones, there's no laptops, there's no
Nothing.
Wi-Fi, like, you have to drive an hour just to get sometimes electricity, and you go
Yep.
in and we are so dependent on our electronics. We're so dependent on electricity that if someone were to able to just take over the circuit, whatever it's called, the electricity, like, I'm sorry, we'd all be screwed. I know I'd be screwed. I would at that point. I'd be like, you know what? You guys are all preparing. No, I would just live out and just go sit in the water or something. But it's I think they're trying to send a message. I think they're trying to tell us like we have become too dependent and we
And
need
too vulnerable.
first we need to learn how to survive. We need to learn how to fend. Like, how many people can go out and fish and hunt, gather all of those things, right? Like, we laugh at the people that are in the farms that are just no, nobody come around, da da da. But then those are the people like in the movie that when time comes down to it, they're the one we're knocking at their door like, please help us, yada yada yada. Um,
You mean the canners and the preppers?
the preppers, like the price of
Listen,
living.
listen. When I first moved into my house, when I first bought my house, one of the things that was really important to me was I wanted fruit trees, I wanted mature trees on the property. Like, I wanted to be able to eat off of my own land, right? Because one of the things that's really important is like soil, and like it has the biggest impact on sort of your fruit and vegetables. Then I got a vertical farm stand, right? So like I'm growing a whole bunch of fruits, vegetables and herbs on that. I've got some raised beds. So I now have 2 avocado trees, 3 lemon trees, 2 cherry trees, a peach tree, an apple tree, a lemon tree,
Wow.
lime tree. I have vegetables, but it's like I'm trying to create a self-sustaining area. If I've got land and it's open, probably has food growing on it
Right.
somewhere. Now I don't really cook. So like there's that whole other part, right? Like so like then I got to have people come over and cook for me. But I have it. I have all these things. I do
Well,
juice.
we can trade. I can cook.
Okay,
You just provide
right.
you provide the food.
Provide the sustenance. Man, yeah, so when then I became an adult and I realized, "Oh my god, I need chickens." What was I thinking? They were brilliant, and I was the silly, silly little girl being like, "Who has chickens in their backyard? So weird." Me, I want chickens in my backyard. I want them.
I actually had chickens growing up, and
Did you?
yes, and they're if you get them as babies, they're maybe like $1, and then you have to raise them, and then
When do
yeah,
they
like
start
we had,
producing? How long does that
but
take?
I maybe like a year or two, because you have to get hens, and obviously, yeah. So you have to raise them to become, yeah. But honestly, I loved having chickens. You get them trained, like they will follow you around. Chickens are great. We had a garden, everything. Like, so if it came down to it, if I actually had to revert back to that, I think
Revert
I
back
would
to your
be
roots.
revert back to my Iowan roots.
Farmer
But
Shar coming out.
farmer farmer Shardy B, here I go.
Farmer Shardy B, she's out here. I love it. I love it. Oh,
No, but I definitely think like the Obamas, especially like now that he's left office, they always talk about community. I know I listened to her podcast where they had a conversation together and they said we need to go back to that.
yeah.
We need to go back to alerting each other when we know things are going on, talking to each other.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting that, to go back to COVID, and this is the last point that I have, but when Bush was in office, he read a book, and this book talked about a pandemic, and he created an entire plan of what were to happen if we had like a national pandemic. And he had a binder of this is what needs to happen. These are the people that need to be alerted, XYZ. And then when Trump went into office, he threw the binder out.
Yeah.
He threw the binder out. Obama fixed it up. He said, okay, these are, using the census, everything that was implemented. And then Trump threw it out. So I think when we have these movings coming forward from people like the Obamas, this is a message, okay? And don't take it lightly.
Right.
Like, obviously, still with a grain of salt, but okay, let me see what I need to start learning. If I need to start making my own clothes and, churning butter.
Dude, okay, so I am going to make my first loaf of bread. So I'm all in
Mm,
this. Like I love the like prepper TikToks. Okay, I'm
yep,
obsessed. You know that I spend a lot of time on TikTok. I am obsessed.
yep,
But like the women
yeah.
who make the bread, the women who are like doing the canning and like the natural cleaning, I'm like, oh my god, everything in my house is poisoning us. So like I literally went and got my essential oils battle book, like literally how to
Mm-hmm.
solve any problem. Oh, you've got a headache? Cool. Diffuse
With
this
peppermint,
oil. Oh, you need to make laundry
yep.
detergent? Cool. Use this and this and this. It's like this whole book. It has like the medical uses and properties. Um, so yeah, I have like my on the go field resource guide for my essential oils. But I'm in. I'm in. I'm committing slowly, right? I've started to remove things from my fridge. We've gone to plant-based milk and now we've gone to like juicing our own juices at home. And now I've been juicing for everybody else. Over the holidays we did a mimosa bar and all of it was fresh juices. Many of those fruits I'd picked from my own garden and then just like made
Wow.
the juices for
But
everyone.
was it but was it electric? Did you use an electric
I did
juicer?
use an electric juicer, hence the solar generator. I saw it on
Oh.
Amazon, baby. And it'll power your whole house. All right. It'll power your whole house, at least your refrigerator and your juicer and your cell phones and whatever else. So, and I have an electric car. So for me, it's like I need something that's going to power my car.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so, ordered the electric generator. It was not cheap. It was not cheap, but it's coming.
Mhm.
And then, I'm also looking at solar. I mean, if you live anywhere in Southern California or anywhere where it's sunny
Yeah.
most of the time, it makes zero sense to not have solar power. And now they've
Mhm.
made it so easy to be able to get connected to the solar power that we should be getting off of this dependency. Now,
Mhm.
the internet, that's a whole nother ball game. I'm not
Portia will be starting
technologically
her
savvy
own
enough for
internet.
that. What'd you say?
I said Portia will be starting her own internet.
Right. I'll have
We
my
will be
own
going
internet
back.
company. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
We'll start doing the cup strings again, connecting house to
They were
house.
preparing us for this moment, okay? Elementary school was preparing
Oh,
us for this moment so that we could look, all you need is the sound reverberating across the string and it will make it all the way down. Get the aluminum can, string it up. You could have a weather system. No, but
oh my god.
I think about the movies that we had preparing us for the congressional announcements around extraterrestrial life, right? And I know I'm
Yep.
coming here at the end, but it really ties it all up. Of We had so many years of preparation, right? Before our government made, or even the world made a formal announcement. There were so many different movies that created this idea of normalcy around um, extraterrestrial,
That.
if you will, right?
Mhm.
That when it
Yep.
came time for the congressional hearings on it, just recently, what was that, last June, last May, um, where we openly admitted that we have these programs, that we have these sightings, that we've constantly had them, and that they've become so frequent that they're
No one.
asking. Well, no, I mean, the whole issue was there's a way for the government and the military to report all these sightings, but there was no way for civilian pilots to do it. There was no
Mm,
mechanism. And what the argument was in these hearings was like, we need to create a system for civilian pilots to be able to report what they're seeing so that we can start to document, because we're having hundreds of thousands of these sightings in our skies. It's becoming so crowded. Air traffic control and these private pilots need to be able to know what they're looking out for and get training. And when I'm sitting here and I'm like, so we're not even like, we just glossed over that whole idea of like, are they real?
that whole.
That whole thing of like, do they exist? To, hey, we need a better system for our civilian pilots to be able to report what they're seeing, much like the government process for military pilots to report what they're seeing. Military
Mhm.
submariners, military pilots. I'm like, wait a minute, wait. Hold please, hold please. And then when they were
We
like, and we
just
have
skimmed.
biologic material from crashed planes, I was like crashed crafts. I was like, wait a minute. So you mean Area 51 this whole time was not just a ruse out of Independence Day, but was real?
It was real, all of it.
Roswell, like, how dare you make all these people into fanatic nuts, right? Like, oh, they're just crazy. They're just crazy. They're conspiracy theorists. And then you're just sitting in Congress and you're like, so, we really do need to up our reporting system for this because and I'm just like sitting here watching this, and AOC, when she starts asking questions, was just hilarious. She was like, she was like, okay.
What?
And yeah, it was, oh my gosh, you have to go back and watch the hearings. Oh my God.
I do. I, I
You
didn't
did?
watch them, but
Oh,
I I agree with you like 1,000%. So now that has passed, right? And now it's what's the next thing that we're gonna slowly ease to them? Like, hey, we're probably all going to have an entire world meltdown. Like, how do you prep? How do you like? We've been. It's.
they're like,
How
it's
do you?
coming. They're like, it's coming, right? And this idea of like, even, what was it? Oh my gosh, what was it? Oh, just even the Avengers, right?
Mm,
The 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 Avengers, and like, the heroes of the world all coming together, these people with superpowers, and you've got, the Russian spy, and like all these people from everywhere, right? And then you've got the help from the woman who's like Captain Marvel, and you've got all these things. And then you've got like the alien nations that are good and like helpful, and the alien nations that want to kill us. And we're like,
what
what?
if all of that?
What?
Oh my gosh!
What are we?
deep dive today, you guys. We had all of this to get off of our chest. We are thinking about every message. But I truly, at some point, it's because our human brains can only fathom what's in front of us, right? Until we see it, until we firsthand experience it, then that's when we start believing it, right? And movies like this leave the world behind, like slowly easing it into our minds that, hey, this could be a possibility, this could happen. Then we start to kind of, okay, we're questioning it. It gives us a little bit of like an emotional response, but then afterward you're like, oh shoot, that could actually really happen,
Well,
you
I mean,
know.
when you have all these politicians building bunkers, okay, all these
And
people
building,
building
Kim
bunkers,
Kardashian just built one.
and
Mark
you've
Zuckerberg.
got Bill Gates out here buying up thousands of acres of farmland. So it's like, what do you want to do? Control our food production, or you like want to make sure that you have food, right? When you have the seed bank talking about they had to pull seeds out of the seed bank, like when you have nations at war, full nations at war, you've got Ukraine and Russia, you've got Israel and Palestine, you've got like all these things going on. And then you start to see all of these transitions happening in the world. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. It just feels like something is coming, right? Something is coming. And
Yeah.
all within this last year, it's like aliens are real. They exist. We've known that forever. Duh, right? Like, how could you have not known that? Wait, really, government? Really? Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
cool. The economy is shit. The dollar's worth nothing. Oh, thanks. Right? The world's at war. Cool. Awesome. Women's rights. Yeah, we're totally going to take all of those away. Um, affirmative action, all these things. We're just going to take all of that away. Yeah, and we're going to build bunkers too. Like at the same time we're going to build bunkers, we're going to make your food super duper poisonous. So, and like we're going to tell everybody that like it's super poisonous, all the chemicals and stuff that we allow in America that other countries ban because, they know it's poisonous. We're going to have companies like the juice company, like Lemonade and Simply Orange or whatever, come out with the fact that they have forever chemicals in their juices. So we've been poisoning you for decades. And, then we're going to put out movies that say that your internet's going to go down and like you guys are going to all go to shit. All that happened in about a year. So I don't know. Oh, and we still want to be able to marry children. Thanks.
Are we living in 2024 or are we living in the 1400s?
We're living in the twilight zone. Like I think we've honestly entered an alternate reality, and I'm just like, I don't like the vibration of this place, and how do I get back to the other one? Like, how do I get to the one where I was before, which was like super chill? I would like to go back there, please, because this plane, this reality here, this version of Portia's timeline, I am not for this. This one is on a freaking moving train into a brick wall, and I am not here for it. I am not here for it.
But we are here for the ride, you guys.
We are here for the ride. That's true. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun while we're on it.
While we're on it, and all this conversation and everything that we have going on in the world, we are so happy that you are tuning in, listening to us, and having a great time.
Yeah, what I want to know from the audience, though, and if you guys could just leave a comment down below, I want to know from you guys, do you have a go bag? Do you have a go bag? Shar, do you have a go bag?
No. My go bag is me going to the beach and living out my days. That's it. Bye.
He was like, boy, bye. I'm out.
I don't think I want to live in that world. I think I will be okay.
It's like I will slowly drift into the night. Oh my gosh. I have two go bags. I have one in my car. I have one in my house. But I mean, it's like I think about having a kid. It's like, okay, I brought you into this world knowing this world was a little bit crazy. Now we got a whole lot crazier. So now we got to figure that part out. But, doing the thing that's going to make sure that you're going to at least have a fighting chance, because these kids, the ones that we're raising now, man, they are savages. And I mean, because they just fell into all this chaos. Like we at least had the idea that something else, like that farce of an American dream that has completely disappeared. Like we at least had that, right, to hold on to, and like we know what we lost. They're just like, no, we were born into this chaos. It's every community for itself. We're just gonna work collaboratively to just like I don't know, self-actualize. We're going to meditate and move to a higher vibration, can our own food, raise our chickens. Like these kids are like, we're in for all of it. But
We're reverting back.
reverting back or moving towards something we hadn't ever really seen. Because even back in the day, it was still very tribal, but now it's this whole unification of entire communities, bringing
Yeah.
bringing the bits and pieces together to create something I don't know, truly magical in this woven cloth of life that we're experiencing right now. So it's interesting.
I'll start my beach tribe. So I will be pescatarian, drinking pineapples by the beach. Portia will be in her farm. We will
Be in the
will
mountains.
boat over.
Be in the
We'll
mountains
trade.
high up. I want high elevation. I want to be able to see you.
There you
You're sneaking up on me. No, it's an interesting ride, and I think it's an interesting time to be women, right? Um, there's so much opportunity for conversation and exposure about the things that are wrong in this society,
Yep.
the way that women have been treated. I mean, we've gone a whole gamut in this episode, right? We talked about child brides. We talked about sex trafficking with Epstein and like the cover-ups and all of the things that have gone along with that. What those implications are across the board. We've talked about just societal expectations, right, in previous episodes of working and canning and maintaining the family and doing the mental and emotional labor of preparing, right? And so much of even the show that the Obamas put out, Leave the World Behind. And by the way, guys, this is not a sponsored episode. It is really just like that. I had to stop watching. Like I got scared. Like I don't think it was supposed to be a horror movie, but like I was terrified. And I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I'm gonna like legit have nightmares. But just even in that, it's like the mom was the one who really like took the charge in that as well. So I think that there is something to be said for us women telling our own stories and communicating amongst ourselves. It's powerful. The other thing is it's reverting to this idea of like women recreating society.
I love that.
Which we all
maybe we do need this. Maybe we do.
Maybe we do. Maybe we need this.
The last thing. Don't Worry, Darling. Literally at the end of the movie, what does she do? Did you watch Don't Worry, Darling?
No.
Oh, we'll talk about that next time. We'll talk about that next time. You need to watch it. But yes, what a great episode today has been.
Yeah. Woo! I learned a lot.
Me too, as always.
As always. I also know that I need to get my go bag up a little bit more. I'm gonna up my go bag. But yeah, you guys please let us know in the comments what you learned, and if you have a go bag. If you don't, I will share the link to my go bag so that everybody, you can sort of take a look at it and get prepared from there. But yeah, till next time.
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you have a blessed new year.
Cheers.
Cheers.